So information systems देखते थे, and information system can be any organized combination of people, hardware, software, communication network, and data sources that collects, transforms, and disseminates information in an organization. ठीक है. So role of information systems in controlling every manager in the organization must have adequate information about his performance standards and how he is contributing to the achievement of organizational objectives. In the light of this phenomenon, role of information systems in controlling is as follows. So management control. Management control क्या है? Is applicable to higher management levels. It refers to the task of ensuring that activities are producing the desired results. Information is supposed to act as guide to management control because control action is guided by adequate information from the beginning to the end. Operation control क्या है? Operation control is concerned with action completed or performance achieved and evaluates the performance at the operating level. Operational control is exercised at two levels of an action: post-action control and steering control. In post-action control, performance is measured after the action is completed and corrective actions are taken for the next cycle of the similar action. In steering control, corrective actions are taken during the process of completing the action itself. Information systems provide information for exercising both these types of control. Decision making regarding corrective actions. So, decision making is a process to arrive at a decision, the process by which an individual or organization selects one position or action from several alternatives. Information system provides relevant information to analyze the causes for deviation and the type of action to be taken. ठीक है. अब टाइप्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम क्या क्या है? ट्रांजैक्शन प्रोसेसिंग सिस्टम्स. Transaction processing system is applied for conversion, manipulation, and analysis of raw data into a form that is more meaningful to users. Transaction processing systems main tasks are data gathering, data manipulation, data classification, data storing, calculation, and summarization. When a management information system MIS provide information in the form of reports and displays to manager and other professionals in the organization. Management information systems provide information in structured form for making structured and semi-structured decisions at the operating level. Management information system put emphasis on internal data. तो management information system क्या है? ये इंफॉर्मेशन देता है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रिपोर्ट एंड डिस्प्लेस टू मैनेजर एंड अदर इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. तो एक रिपोर्ट है जो मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम देगा और वो सबको विजिबल होगा. इट प्रोवाइड्स इंफॉर्मेशन इन स्ट्रक्चर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ मेकिंग स्ट्रक्चर्ड एंड सेमी स्ट्रक्चर्ड डिसीजंस एट द ऑपरेटिंग लेवल. तो जो ऑपरेटिंग लेवल पे जो लोग डिसीजन मेकिंग अथॉरिटी है उसको डिसाइड करने में या कोई भी डिसीजन लेने में हेल्प करेगा. डिसीजन सपोर्ट सिस्टम. So decision support system DSS are information system applications that assist in decision making. These combine data, sophisticated analytical models, and user-friendly software to make semi-structured and unstructured decisions. ठीक है. तो ये कैसे डिफरेंट है? ये डेटा को कंबाइन करता है, sophisticated analytical models and user-friendly software to make semi-structured and unstructured decisions. The basic use of decision support systems is in the areas of planning, analyzing alternatives, and search for solutions. फिर है executive information systems. Executive information systems (EIS) are information system at the strategic management level of an organization designed to address unstructured decision making. They provide information to top level managers in interactive format through their access to critical success factors of an organization. The use of EIS is primarily in the areas of strategic planning and strategic control. अब expert system क्या है? Expert system are knowledge-intensive computer systems that are using artificial intelligence. Managers at different hierarchical levels require different types of information system. तो workers है उनको transaction processing system, management information system जो report वगैरह structured unstructured decision लेने में middle manager, फिर decision support system और executive information system. ठीक है. It is the critical success factors of an organization, EIS. तो ये सारे इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्निक्स है, इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स है. और इसमें से जो ट्रांजैक्शन वाला है वो है वर्कर के लिए मैनेजमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम, फिर डिसीजन सपोर्ट सिस्टम और एग्जीक्यूटिव इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम. ये सब है हर अथॉरिटी के लिए. कंट्रोल टेक्निक्स. कंट्रोल टेक्निक्स ऑपरेशनल लेवल पे भी है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल लेवल पे भी है. तो control techniques at operational level. It is concerned with converting inputs as efficiently as possible to optimize profit of an organization. Responsibility for exercising control on operations lies with operations management. So budgetary control. Budgetary control establishes a plan or target of performance which becomes the basis of measuring progression of activities in the organization. ठीक है, budgetary control क्या है? एक plan है और target of performance which becomes the basis of measuring progression of activities in the organization. It tries to measure the outcomes of activities in quantified terms so that actual performance can be compared with budgeted performance. It tries to focus attention of the management on deviation between what is planned and what is being achieved so that necessary actions are taken to correct the situation and to achieve the objectives of the activities. टाइप्स ऑफ बजट्स क्या है? मास्टर एंड फंक्शनल बजट. मास्टर बजट है पूरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए होता है. फंक्शनल बजट सिर्फ एक सिंगल फंक्शनल यूनिट के लिए होगा. कैपिटल एंड रेवेन्यू बजट. कैपिटल एंड रेवेन्यू बजट correspond to capital and revenue expenditure. Capital expenditure, creation of assets such as buying a land, construction factory. Revenue expenditure, on the other hand, is about carrying out day-to-day expenditures such as paying salaries, paying rent, maintenance of machine, etc. Long-term and short-term budget. The budget which is prepared for a year or so is called a short-term budget. Budget which is prepared for a longer period than a year is called long-term budget. Fixed and flexible budget. So journey organizations prepare budgets which pertain to only a certain projected fixed volume of operations for a year or so. Such budgets are known as fixed or static budgets. A budget which is designed to change in accordance with the activities of the organization is called as flexible budget. ठीक है, तो जो भी एक्टिविटीज हो रहा है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का उसके हिसाब से चेंज करना तो मतलब फ्लेक्सिबल बजट है. जीरो बेस्ड बजटिंग, तो वो लोग कोई रेफरेंस पीरियड नहीं ले रहे. तो दिस प्रॉब्लम विद बजटिंग इज दैट बजट्स आर प्रिपेयर्ड टेकिंग प्रीवियस ईयर नंबर्स एज बेस, but in constantly changing world, the activities or factors which were important last year may not be considered. So they can be solved by using zero-based budgeting. In zero-based budgeting, the budgets are prepared from scratch without taking data of the past years. ठीक है. फिर है control through costing. It involves control over cost in the light of certain predetermined cost, usually known as standard cost. Standard costs are predetermined operation costs computed to reflect quantities, price, and level of operations. Costing is a method of cost accounting in which standard costs are used in recording certain transactions, and the actual costs are compared with the standard cost to find out the amount and reasons of variations from the standard. Break-even analysis. Break-even analysis, it is also known as the control technique, basically concerned with the cost, volume, profit relationships. It is made mathematically by applying the formula to trace the break-even point contribution, जहाँ पे break-even point fixed point या contribution per unit है. यहाँ पे profit loss zero होता है. So this is a simple break-even chart, shows a single product for the organization. Responsibility accounting. The use of responsibility accounting, a control technique, focuses attention on management by objectives. Okay, rather than management by domination. Each person is responsible for his area of operation, and for effective control, he must know what his cost should be and what his costs have been. ठीक है, उसका क्या cost हो चुका है और क्या होने वाला है. A responsibility center in an organizational unit such as division, department, or section headed by a responsible person whose responsibility is fixed in respect of results of that organizational unit. So there are three types of responsibility centers: cost center, profit center, and investment center. In the cost centers, the control system measures only the cost incurred by responsibility centers. No attempt is made to measure the value of their outputs. In profit center, the target are fixed in terms of profit, which is measured by the amount of input and output. In the investment center, managers are held responsible for the effective use of assets as well as for revenue and cost. ठीक है, तो तीन तरीके के हैं. फिर है the responsibility accounting emphasizes cost control based on who is responsible for costs. Internal audit. Internal audit, also called operational audit, is an effective tool of managerial control. Internal audit is carried out by managers themselves or by special staff appointed for this purpose. In addition to ensuring that accounts reflect the facts, internal audit also appraises policies, procedures, use of authority, quality of management, effectiveness of methods, special problems, and other phases of operation. Quality control, statistical quality control, while the second phase is done through inspection control. Statistical quality control में है कि it is a method of measuring and continuously improving work process before the final inspection of the product. Therefore, it is preventive as well as remedial. In using SQC, two considerations are important: setting tolerance limit of acceptable quality and measuring the product quality. ठीक है, तो SQC two considerations are important: setting tolerance limit of acceptable quality and measuring the product quality. Tolerance limit है कि is the variation in quality from the standard specifications which can be acceptable. For example, a machine is manufacturing ball bearings of 3 centimeter. There is a possibility that some of the bearings are oversized and some are undersized. So the management must decide the extent to which these oversized or undersized bearings would be accepted. The management may accept bearings between 3.1 or 2.9 centimeter. Inspection control. In the inspection control, quality control in charge seeks to determine the acceptability of parts or products. This may be done either for the raw materials which are used in production process or which are in the form of finished products resulting from the completion of production process. Inspection is made by comparing the quality of the product to the standard, commonly known as specification, by means of a visual or testing examination. Quality control through quality circle. Quality circle is a group of employees that meets regularly to solve problems affecting its work area. This group carries on control and improvement within the workplace utilizing quality control techniques with all the members participating. Generally, a quality control consists of 6 to 12 members from the same work area. Quality control generally recommends solution for quality and productivity problems which may be implemented by management. It recommends solutions for quality and productivity problems. Where quality control ensures harmony in the organization, effective teamwork, problem-solving capacity, self-discipline, better interpersonal and group relations, better communication, participation, job satisfaction, and finally productivity and consequently organizational effectiveness. Inventory control. Inventory consists of raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods. It tries to specify the optimum level of inventory that an organization should keep. If we keep inventory too high, so then it means we are doing high level of investments in inventory which are not required. We would also be required to spend money in storing that. So on the other hand, if we keep inventory too low, it means that we are taking a risk of stock out. So in 1970s, Japanese introduced the concept of just-in-time inventory system known as Kanban in Japanese language. The basic theme of this system is to have no inventory. The raw materials are bought more frequently and in small quantity to be used just in time, and finished products are produced and delivered just in time to be sold. So ABC analysis है and economic order quantity है. तो ABC analysis में ग्रुप ए वाले हाई वैल्यू होते हैं और उनके नंबर लो होते हैं. ठीक है, ग्रुप बी items fall in between average value and number. Group C have extremely low value but their number may be more. ठीक है, so, according to ABC analysis, maximum attention should be paid to Group A items as these are critical in terms of values, followed by B and C groups. Thus, ABC analysis provides clue where attention should be focused in inventory control. Economic order quantity EOQ. Economic order quantity indicates the size of order that will result in the lowest a total of order cost and inventory carrying cost for an item of inventory. To estimate EOQ, two types of costs are calculated: order cost and inventory carrying cost. Order cost क्या है? Order cost includes various items on which an organization must incur cost on procuring raw materials. These include various types of administrative costs such as stock taking, order writing agents, visit, business journey, and reminder, etc. इन्वेंट्री कैरिंग कॉस्ट क्या है? जैसे EOQ जो होता है, इन्वेंट्री कैरिंग कॉस्ट इन्वॉल्व्स इंटरेस्ट ऑन द मनी लॉक्ड इन इन्वेंट्री, कॉस्ट ऑफ स्टोरेज, कॉस्ट ऑफ इंश्योरेंस फॉर स्टॉक, and cost of materials due to spoilage, quality deterioration, obsolescence. ठीक है, तो एक EOQ करके है √2 SO by C. S is the total quantity of materials required. Order quantity, order cost per order. C is the carrying cost per unit. ठीक है, तो EOQ फॉर्मूला गिव्स फिगर फॉर ऑर्डरिंग मटेरियल्स पर ऑर्डर. एक ऑर्डर में कितना हम लोग को मटेरियल ऑर्डर करना है उसका देता है फिगर. Safety stock and inventory control. Another issue that is relevant in inventory control is the estimation of safety stock that an organization should keep regularly to continue its operation uninterruptedly. This is required to meet unforeseen situations which may interfere with the regularity of material supply. For example, sometimes thermal power plants owned by government must be shut because of lack of timely supply of coal, which becomes a very costly affair. Time event network analysis. Time event network analysis helps to know how the parts of a program fit together during the passage of time and events. There are three major techniques for the analysis: Gantt chart, milestone budgeting, and PERT CPM. The Gantt chart है कि series of interrelated derivative plans that people could comprehend and follow. So based on this recognition, he has identified the relationship among different activities required to complete a program. Based on this premise, Gantt chart was developed, which has been presented in the below figure. ठीक है. Gantt chart shows that two or more activities which have sequential relationship must be completed in that order. However, the chart does not depict the relationship between one group of activities with another group of activities. For example, it shows relationship among two activities in task A, but does not show relationship between task A and B or other tasks. ठीक है. तो इसमें दो एक्टिविटी इन टास्क ए को वो रिलेट करेगा, जैसे 1 and 2 है, 3 and 4 है, 5 and 6 है, बट जो ए और बी टास्क है उसके बीच में कोई रिलेशनशिप नहीं दिखाता है. सो टू ओवरकम दिस प्रॉब्लम, माइलस्टोन बजटिंग एंड PERT CPM network have been used. Milestone budgeting, also known as the milepost budgeting, breaks a project into controllable pieces and then follows them carefully. The milestone budgeting is an improvement over Gantt chart in the sense that it establishes relationships between two or more segments of a project. ठीक है. तो ये relationship is not completely depicting the milestone budgeting. So to overcome this problem, PERT CPM was used. DuPont Company USA, and it was developed by the special project of the US Navy. यहाँ पे critical path method का होता है. तो critical path method is the path where longest time is taken. ठीक है. और क्रिटिकल पाथ एक्टिविटीज दिखाता है, उसमें सबसे ज्यादा जो टाइम लेने वाला है वो क्रिटिकल पाथ है. उससे लेट होगा तो पूरा प्रोजेक्ट डिले हो सकता है. और ये जो ब्लू ब्लू में है ये सारे, ये पाथ है कि इतने के भीतर हो जाएगा, जो मैक्सिमम टाइम है उसके भीतर. ठीक है. एक्सपेक्टेड टाइम ऑफ एन एक्टिविटी इज कैलकुलेटेड बाय O+4M बाय +P डिवाइडेड बाय सबका एवरेज 6. तो based on analysis, critical activities are determined. These are represented by critical path, which shows that if activities on this path are not completed in time, the entire project will be delayed by the time the completion of an activity is delayed. Role of manager क्या है? Henry Mintzberg describes a set of 10 roles. ये important है. 10 roles है. Henry Mintzberg ने manager का जो भी है वो role बताया. These roles fall into three categories. Interpersonal, this role involves human interaction. Informational involves the sharing and analyzing of information. Decisional, this role involves decision making. ठीक है. इंटरपर्सनल रोल है, तो पहला वाला क्या था? पहला था इंफॉर्मेशनल रोल. पहला था इंटरपर्सनल, इंफॉर्मेशनल एंड डिसीजनल. ठीक है. इंटरपर्सनल में भी तीन कैटेगरी है. तो इंटरपर्सनल रोल्स ऑफ अ मैनेजर आर कंसर्न विथ हिज इंटरेक्शन विथ others, both with the organization and the outsiders. There are three types of interpersonal roles: figurehead, leader, and liaison. Figurehead role. So it is role of manager which includes those activities which are ceremonious and symbolic nature. For example, greeting the visitors, attending social functions, involving employees, making speeches, etc. Leader role क्या है? Leader role of manager involves leading his subordinates and motivating them for willing and enthusiastic contribution. ठीक है. तो figurehead role है कि it is the role of a manager which includes those activities which are of ceremonious and symbolic nature. ठीक है. लीडर रोल है, involves leading his subordinates and motivating them. liaison role की एक दूसरे का ब्रिज बनना, serving as the link between organization outsiders and the organization itself, or between his unit and other units of the organization. Informational role है. Informational role of a manager include communication, giving and receiving information both within and outside the organization. So there are three types of information, या बोल सकते हैं इंफॉर्मेशन रोल्स. मॉनिटर रोल में क्या होता है कि इट इज टू कॉन्स्टेंटली कलेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट दोज फैक्टर्स विच अफेक्ट द activities maybe within the organization and outside in it. ठीक है. In addition to the monitoring must be done through different meetings. Disseminator roles. So disseminator roles क्या है? Disseminator role for manager involves sharing of information with the subordinates who may not be able in a position to collect it. ठीक है, sharing of with the subordinates. Spokesperson role. In the role of spokesperson, a manager represents his organization while interacting with outsiders such as customers, supply, government, and other agencies. फिर decisional roles of a manager involve making decisions so as to choose the best alternative, which can help in achieving the organizational objectives. There are four decision roles. Entrepreneur. So, in performing on this role, a manager assumes a certain risk, which is involved in terms of outcomes of the action because these are affected by various external factors. He initiates changes, authorizes actions, sets goals, and formulate policies. Disturbance handler. As a disturbance handler, a manager is required to contain those forces uh, and events which tend to disturb the organization equilibrium and normal functioning. He also handles the conflicts and complaints within the organization. Resource allocator. As a resource allocator, a manager allocates organizational resource of various types to different organizational units. He approves budgets, schedules, and sets priority. Negotiator. As a negotiator, a manager must negotiate and work out agreements with various interest groups in the organization, such as shareholders and employees and outsiders. तो reconciling management functions and role. प्लानिंग होता है इंफॉर्मेशनल रोल डिसीजनल रोल से, ठीक है, इंफॉर्मेशनल एंड डिसीजनल। ऑर्गेनाइजिंग भी ऑर्गेनाइजिंग डिसीजनल रोल है। डायरेक्टिंग इंटरपर्सनल एंड इंफॉर्मेशनल रोल है, और कंट्रोलिंग इंफॉर्मेशनल रोल है, ठीक है। तो प्लानिंग में देखो हर चीज डिसाइड करना होता है तो डिसीजनल हो गया। ऑर्गेनाइजिंग में डिसीजन लेना होता है, और इंफॉर्मेशन भी प्लानिंग में गैदर करना होता है, राइट। डायरेक्टिंग में क्या है कि इंटरपर्सनल भी देखना होता है, लोगों को कि बताना होता है कि क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, इंफॉर्मेशन भी शेयर करना होता है। कंट्रोलिंग में इट्स जस्ट अबाउट कंट्रोलिंग द इंफॉर्मेशन, ठीक है। सो इंफॉर्मेशन रोल में मॉनिटर करना ये सब है, तो इसलिए कंट्रोलिंग है। अब लेसर known roles of a manager. As part from Henry Mintzberg, there are some other lesser known roles played by manager. Communicator है, so the role of communicator is to present the information organized, clear and concise manner to the people in the organization. Networker है, innovative idea, strong professional network, linkage बनाना, productive linkages बनाना. It is almost similar to liaison role जो हमने डिस्कस किया। Enabling role है, uh, enabler strives to build bridges of cooperation and goodwill with other teams and stakeholders while removing barriers to success. The leader creates a favorable environment for all the resources to get together and deliver the results. Synergizing है कि creating synergies between the teams or between the companies so that value and performance of two teams या companies combined will be greater than the sum of the separate individual parts. So the difference between enabler and synergizer is that enabler just creates a favorable environment, whereas synergizer will use the favorable environment and devise a strategy for proper synergy between the two systems. तो synergizing role है। It is about creating synergies between the teams or between the company so that value and performance of two teams या companies combined will be greater than the sum of the separate individual parts. Balancing है, balances the needs of the team members by bringing harmony in project goal and individual goal. For example, if somebody wants to learn new technology, then the manager uh, would give him such a role where he can be useful for the company by learning new technologies. Developmental role. This role is related to career planning, training, and development of employees so that individual development takes place and benefit both the organization and the individual. So the manager helps employees to enhance their skills and upgrade their existing knowledge. Performance management. In this role, the manager duly recognizes his employees, provides training and development, provides feedback and monitors the work. ठीक है। और लिंक बिल्डिंग है, it is a two-way communication between management and employees where a proper handover of information and assets take place. So the manager motivates the employees by making them believe that they contribute towards betterment of the society. This role gives credibility towards the task. Nudge theory. Nudge theory is a flexible and modern concept for understanding of how people think, make decisions, and behave, helping people improve their thinking and decisions, managing change of all sorts, and identifying and modifying existing helpful influences on people. So nudge theory was named as in popularized by 2008 book Nudge Improving Design about Health, Wealth, and Happiness by American academics Richard Thaler and Sunstein. So what nudge theory is all about? Uh, the meaning of nudge in English dictionary is prod, someone gently with one's elbow in order to attract attention. Another meaning is a light touch or push. Humans, being not so rational, often need encouragement or intervention, a nudge to get going and do what is best for the country or society at large. So the nudge theory recognizes this behavioral trait. It says that people, rather than being forced, can be encouraged and influenced to purchase and desist from certain actions through nudges. Nudges are not mandate. So while there is encouragement, there is no compulsion to comply, and people have the freedom to choose other options. The use of nudge theory is based on indirect encouragement and enablement. It avoids direct instruction on enforcement. Here are some simple steps to illustrate the difference between a traditional enforced change and nudge techniques. So enforced change है जैसे humans make decisions based on heuristics. Humans automatically or irrationally. ठीक है तो instructions are small child to tidy or clean his room. The nudge techniques are playing a room tidying game with the child. Joining a gym, nudge technique is using the stairs. So as per nudge theory, the central to behavior is a decision making from the choices available. Nudge theory is mainly concerned with the design of choices which influences the decision we make. Design of choices. मतलब we have so many alternatives so that when we select it, it will be good. So for the people choosing and ideally the wider interest of society and environment, etc. Type of nudges, there are many techniques through which people can be nudged. Main three techniques are nudged are of nudge are mentioned. So yeah, defaults. Default option is the option an individually automatically receives if he or she does nothing. Social proof refers to the tendency for individuals to look at the behavior of other people to help guide his own behavior. Increasing the silence of desired option. So when an individual's attention is drawn towards a particular option, that option will become more salient to the individual and he or she will be more likely to choose that option. As an example, in snack shops at train stations in the Netherlands, consumer purchased more fruits and healthy snack options when they were relocated next to the cash register. How nudge theory relates to other theories. The roots of nudge theory can be traced back to a wide variety of psychological models which were introduced much earlier. So X theory equates to conventional enforcement and Y theory equates to nudge. मैकग्रेगर का जो एक्स वाई है तो उसमें एक्स है कि कन्वेंशनल एनफोर्समेंट करना और वाई है जो नज करना. How people think and decide. Nudge theory proposes that the designing of choices should be based on how people actually think and decide instinctively and rather irrationally, rather than how leaders and authorities traditionally believe people think and decide. Taylor and Sunstein illustrated the contrast between human behavior and logical behavior by presenting the different types of people, which they called human and econ. Humans are what we might consider real people who make real human decisions or fail to decide as they are irrational. Econs are an imaginary type of people imagined to exist instead of real people by economists, politicians, academics. Econs always think logically and rationally. So humans are characterized by thinking automatically. Econs are characterized as thinking reflectively. तो जैसे ऑटोमेटिक सिस्टम है और रिफ्लेक्टिव सिस्टम. अनकंट्रोल्ड है तो ये कंट्रोल्ड है. एफर्टलेस ये एफर्टफुल. एसोसिएटिव डिडक्टिव. फास्ट स्लो. अनकॉन्शियस सेल्फ अवेयर स्किल एंड रूल फॉलोइंग. So Thaler and Sunstein suggest that people use reflective decision making very rarely, even for special important situations such as in electoral voting, investing, major purchases, life decisions, etc. The tendency of human decision making being generally illogical, irrational, Weak, harmful, and other self-destructive is termed as heuristics. So the tendency of human decision making being generally illogical, irrational, weak, harmful, and often self-destructive is termed as heuristics. The word heuristics basically means self-discovery. मतलब जो भी खराब डिसीजन लेना illogically, irrationally, उल्टा सीधा या weak या harmful उसको टेंडेंसी को heuristics बोलते हैं. It means self-discovery. Although in the context of nudge theory, heuristics, which act as a plural singular term, more broadly refers to the various internal references and responses which people use in assessing things, developing views, and making decisions by its internal nature. ठीक है, तो heuristics क्या following are some of the heuristics that can impact people decisions and choices if handled in a proper way. People can be encouraged to make good choices for themselves and society. Anchoring या adjustment करना. An anchor refers to a person's perceived reference point in relation to a question for which the answer is not known and is to be deduced. Availability है कि availability in referring to visibility or how commonly something is perceived to arise in a general sense, which significantly influences people's assessment of how likely it is to arise in a personal sense. For example, the visibility of homicides in the media is high as compared to that of suicide. This leads to the incorrect belief that among most people that are homicides most common than suicide, when the opposite is true by a considerable margin. Optimism, people tend to underestimate expenses या cost, time skills, complexity, and the difficulty of unfamiliar challenges. People tend to overestimate rewards and the estimate and the ease of unfamiliar tasks. Status quo bias. So people generally fear change, especially of uncertain nature. Inertia is a powerful effect and has been used by leaders and communicators for generations. Temptation. People tend to want short-term more than long-term reward. Whether the values are real or perceived, we see the temptation heuristic being exploited to extreme degrees in the operation of most gambling product या services. ठीक है, relevance क्या है कि it offers vastly bigger implications and applications. So government क्या कर सकता है कि by giving incentives to people having two children such as subsidies in the school fee, फिर by running campaigns in which social media stars can be subtly shown having smaller families and instead of having larger number of children. पेरेंटिंग में हो सकता है कि इट कैन हेल्प पेरेंट्स मॉडिफाई द बिहेवियर ऑफ चिल्ड्रन. क्लीन रूम रखना. बिजनेस में हो सकता है कि नस थ्योरी को कॉर्पोरेट सेटिंग में यूज करने के लिए प्रोडक्टिविटी हैप्पीनेस ऑफ एम्प्लॉयज इस पे फोकस करना. हेल्थ केयर हो सकता है जिसमें फॉर एग्जांपल नजिंग हैज बीन यूज्ड as a way to improve hand hygiene and among healthcare workers to decrease the number of healthcare associated functions. Fundraising में first strategy is to make giving easy. Second strategy is to increase donors to make giving more enticing ताकि आकर्षित रहे. And another strategy helpful to increasing donor is using social influence. Investment savings करना mutual fund SIP by making regular investing in the default option are also a nudge to investors to avoid panicking during the market falls. Introducing change through compliance and not confrontation. Nudge theory seeks to minimize resistance and confrontation, which commonly arise from more forceful directing and autocratic methods of changing people या behavior. So the difference between enforced change and change through nudge technique is highlighted below. Enforced change nudge techniques. Forcing methods drastic, direct, and require a conscious, determined effort. Nudge में क्या है? Nudge methods are easier for people to imagine doing and less threatening and disruptive to actually do. Forcing means methods are confrontational and liable to provoke resistance. Nudge methods are indirect, tactical, and less confrontational. Nudge methods may be cooperative and pleasurable. Here is a simple technique. जैसे direct है obvious तो indirect subtle करना, judgmental and non-judgmental, spins, land emphasis, translation, interpretation, bias तो neutrality रखना. ये सब है. So leadership and motivation. Nudge theory is truly relevant to leadership, motivation, and communication. A good leader is one who facilitates the process rather than enforcing them. Leader needs to increase voluntary compliance and therefore nudge theory is much relevant in context of leadership. In terms of motivation also, the reward should be in line with needs of the employee. The needs are not constant and hence the nudges also need to be kept on changing. ठीक है, closing comments on relevance of nudge theory. Just by offering insights into how human thinks and act, the nudge theory can be used to drive favorable behavior and avoid unfavorable ones without resorting to drastic interventions such as penal actions or outright bans. Criticism क्या है? Short term behavioral change. We need to move away from short term politically motivated initiatives such as the nudging people idea, which are not based on any good evidence and do not help people make long term behavior change. Psychological manipulation. Nudging is also seen as euphemism for psychological manipulation, which is not ethical. Nudges diminish autonomy, threaten dignity, violate liberties, or reduce welfare. Small nudges are not enough. There is school of thought that small nudges are not enough. For example, some argue that higher fuel taxes yield a better result than small nudges towards a better environmental decisions. Problem with experiments. A further criticism is that interventions such as the results controlled lab experiments may not necessarily work as effectively in the real world. So that is it, general management.